Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Nemhauser, and I'm coming to you early, before 6:30 a.m. on this fine Wednesday morning. This is the time I could fit it in today. As I said, I'm still trying to get myself kind of acclimated to this summer school schedule for my son and work schedule and all the other stuff. So appreciate your flexibility with when I can make it work, and excited to be here to talk about the most important position on the football field. The most important position on the football field. We're ready to continue and complete our tour around the NFC West position groups, ranking them from best to worst for each position. And we are last but certainly not least doing quarterbacks. And this is going to be a fascinating one. I think there's some clarity about, probably who's toward the top. There's probably a little bit more competition toward the bottom, and we'll just have to see. I got my dog Finn here, who he's been granted access for today. We'll see how long he lasts in this episode before he starts barking and I have to put him away. But I think that we've got a lot of numbers to look at. This is going to be fun. I want to look at quarterbacks in a lot of different ways. I don't want to just assume based on reputation. So we're going to go in with open eyes, open minds, and figure out who do we think is the best quarterback. Now, one of the things that's challenging in doing this is I'm primarily going to look at 2024, last year. And, that's our last information, our latest information. And there's a pretty big disparity, if you look at these guys in terms of their careers and what they've been doing for many years. And that does factor in. You can't just look at what Sam Darnold did last year, for example, and say that's who Sam Darnold is. Sam Darnold is the collection of what he's done over his career, as are the rest of these guys. But we are also trying to evaluate what they did last year, the most recent data, complete seasons for these guys, and have some ways to evaluate them along the way. That doesn't mean I'm going to ignore Brock Purdy's 2023 season, which was spectacular, or ignore some of the seasons in Matt Stafford's past career. But we are going to primarily look at the 2024 season. So with that in mind, let me keep you up to date on where we are in the rankings in general. Before I do that, make sure you like and subscribe and give the show a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts especially, but Spotify, we're up to 4.9 on Spotify, which greatly appreciate you folks on Spotify. Still trying to bump up our podcast rating on Apple Podcasts. So would love and appreciate a 5-star review there. If you're not going to give it a 5-star review, reach out to me first. Tell me what your issue is, and maybe we can work it out between us. All right. So where are we in terms of the rankings to date? Well, we have got, 10 different position groups already ranked. We have one slot left, the quarterback slot, to figure out who is going to be top, who's going to be bottom, and who's going to be in between. As I've said, for folks that, have not been tuning in before, if you think that I'm completely biased, I will just at least point out the 49ers have the most number one rankings of any team so far. They have 4. The Seahawks have 3. The Rams have 2, and the Cardinals have 1. They got number 1 in safeties yesterday. And even then, I had some people arguing that the Seahawks should have been number 1. But I'm pretty comfortable with the Cardinals taking the top spot there. And then as far as last place finishes, the Cardinals are still leading the way there, or trailing, depending on your perspective, with 4 last place finishes. And the 49ers actually tied them yesterday. So I should restate that. The Cardinals and the 49ers are tied with the most last place finishes with 4 apiece. The Rams and the Seahawks have last place in only 1 spot. And I would argue that the Rams, you could really flip them around for their last place for tight end, and that was a very close one relative to some of these other position groups. So that is where things stand going into this final piece. I have already come up with a formula for weighting the value of each of these position groups based off of the franchise tag number. I took the quarterback franchise tag number and I used that as the top weighting, and then I did the other franchise tag numbers kind of off of it. So I can tell you that going into this final ranking, the way that things currently slot is that the Seahawks were or are first in terms of total rankings. And they are just ahead of the Los Angeles Rams, then the 49ers, then the Cardinals. But given how valuable the quarterback position is, unless the Seahawks finished first or second, I don't expect them to maintain that ranking, but we will find out as we go through it. All right, so let's get into it. I don't think I have to go deep into who's on the roster, but let's just do it. Let's just do it to make sure everyone knows. Not so much who the starter is, but maybe who the backups are, right? I'm not going to spend a lot of time evaluating backups. This is really about the starters. Brock Purdy is the starter, for the 49ers. Mac Jones is their new backup, a guy that reportedly Kyle Shanahan wanted to draft over the guy that they traded up for many years ago, who's gone on to be a total bust. Lance, what was his name? Doesn't matter. He's pretty much out of the league at this point. And so it's Purdy and Mac Jones. And from what I've understood, Mac Jones has done pretty well. Curtis Rourke is a rookie that some people think highly of that they drafted in the 7th round. The Rams have Matt Stafford. Behind him, they've got Jimmy Garoppolo that they re-signed and Stetson Bennett. The Cardinals have Kyler Murray, and behind him, they have Jacoby Brissett. So they have a more reputable backup than they've had in past years. And they have Clayton Tune behind him. And the Seahawks have Sam Darnold, their new starter, along with Drew Lock and Jalen Milroe, their rookie that they drafted in the 3rd round. Now, I know a lot of Seahawks fans are going to want to include Jalen Milroe in this evaluation. I don't think we really are going to do that quite yet, and we don't really know how often he's going to be used on the field. And we're in the 2025 evaluation. That's going to be almost exclusively about Sam Darnold. We will get into looking at, Mr. Milroe probably in future years if things go well for him. All right, so let's get into looking at some of the data for these guys. And first thing I want to put up there is, let me see the right view to put up here. I think that's a decent view. We're going to go to Field Vision Pro first. And, I didn't love some of the data here, but I wanted to, share what they had. And I'm going to go through a few different things as we evaluate these quarterbacks. This first view is a 2x2 of average depth of target, ADOT, as it's known. So to the right of the horizontal axis means that the quarterbacks are averaging throwing it further down the field, which is typically more difficult than obviously shorter passes. Completion rate is on the vertical axis. So the higher you are, the more accurate you were relative to the throws you were making. Now, in this particular case, you've got Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold as, far and away the leaders in terms of average depth of target. So they were making more difficult throws than the other two players, averaging, 8.5 yards per target, essentially, where you've got someone like Matt Stafford averaging 7.5 yards and Kyler Murray averaging under 7 yards, 6.9 yards per throw in terms of his average depth of target. So easier throws, and not maybe surprisingly, Kyler Murray had the highest completion rate. And it's almost an exact linear path here. The further your depth of target, the lower your completion rate. So Brock Purdy had the highest, the longest, or the furthest depth of target, and he had the 3rd lowest completion rate. The aberration here, and part of the reason I wanted to show this, is Matt Stafford had the lowest completion rate of any of the quarterbacks in the division, despite having a lower depth of target than either Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy. I think that's noteworthy. Matt Stafford pretty much goes unquestioned around NFL analysts. But I mean, I'm just looking at some of these numbers that we'll go through, and I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll have to keep coming back to this because I have some question marks about at least Matt Stafford from last season. Well, let's look at another piece here, which is EPA per 100 versus success rate. And this one is interesting. If you look at this, you've got Brock Purdy at number 1 for EPA per 100 snaps. And you've got Kyler Murray as number 1 for success rate. Okay. So in that regard, those two guys kind of bump up higher. Now, the other thing to understand is success rate, EPA per 100 are often products of the offense that you're in as well. So that can be not just an individual player, but it can be, the play caller and the surrounding players that you're playing with. So in any event, those guys lead there. Matt Stafford ranks 3rd in success rate, but last in EPA per 100. Sam Darnold was 3rd in EPA per 100 snaps. He was last in success rate. And, to give you an idea of it looks like a very big difference because we've got only these 4 guys. Kyler Murray's success rate was 52%. Sam Darnold's was 49%. So I kind of want to go through here. And if I add all of the teams back in and we look at this piece, you'll see that Sam Darnold, let me close this so you guys can get a better view. Sam Darnold's right here. He ranked in the top quadrant of all NFL quarterbacks. So it wasn't like Sam Darnold was bad in either EPA per 100 snaps or success rate, but he was within the NFC West quarterbacks 4 out of 4 in that number. So, if you want to look at like someone who had a bad success rate, you look at Deshaun Watson had a 35% success rate, or Jacoby Brissett had a 39% success rate. Those are bad success rates. So you can kind of see all 4 of the NFC West quarterbacks are in essentially the top right quadrant of this metric. Now, I want to look a little bit more closely at where Cody Alexander and Field Vision Pro had these quarterbacks rated. And they had Sam Darnold last year as the 8th ranked quarterback by their threat rating, 6th for passing, 22nd for rushing, 5th in terms of handling the blitz. Let me repeat that. He has Sam Darnold as 5th best at handling the blitz. That is not his reputation. I continue to make sure that people understand that, other than, I know everyone remembers the last couple of games that he played last year. They're like, oh man, he can't handle the pressure. I mean, nobody could handle the pressure that the Rams were putting on the Vikings that day. But we'll look at some other numbers. Sam Darnold did quite well when he was under pressure last year, despite playing behind a pretty poor offensive line for much of the season, especially after Christian Darrisaw went down. So that is independent. This is not my ratings. This is Field Vision Pro's rating. So again, we'll look at that. Let's look at Kyler Murray. Where did Kyler Murray, if Sam Darnold was 8th, 6th in this, where did Kyler Murray rank? Kyler Murray was the 10th. So he was a little bit behind, not much, but he's still a top 10 quarterback by Field Vision Pro. He was 15th passing. He was 10th rushing. So he gains a lot more on the rushing, even though he came back from an injury, didn't run quite as much. He was 18th against the blitz. So struggled much more when he was blitzed. Let's look at Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, a guy that most people would say clearly the best quarterback in the division. What does Field Vision Pro say? They had him as the 25th rated quarterback last year. And you might say, oh my God, that's crazy. Well, we're going to look at some of the numbers, and I'm telling you, like, Stafford was not good for most of last season. He had really good playoffs, but during the season, he was not that good. He was 21st ranked passing, 41st rushing, obviously, and then 12th against the blitz. So Matt Stafford was not as successful, at least by their numbers, against the blitz as Sam Darnold. Brock Purdy, let's close out the quartet here and look at what he did. Brock Purdy was the 6th ranked quarterback. So he was the top from Field Vision Pros in the division. So it was 6 for Purdy, 8th for Darnold, 10th for Murray, and 25th for Mr. Stafford. He was 4th in passing, 13th in rushing, which is underrated. He's an underrated scrambler. Definitely has killed the Seahawks many times with his legs. And then 3rd against the blitz. So he was above Sam Darnold against the blitz. But if you look just at these ratings and you look at some of these numbers, you'd think that Purdy and Sam Darnold were tops, and we'll keep looking. I don't necessarily know if that's where I'm going to end up, but it's interesting to see where Field Vision Pro has it. I wanted to look at some other things, and I'm going to take a quick detour because I wanted to see what this is looking at StatHead, ProFootballReference.com. I wanted to look at close and late situations. So we're going to look here at for last season when it's the 4th quarter or overtime and there's 5 minutes or less remaining. You could say 2 minutes, but I feel like I'm interested in games that are within one score near the end. 5 minutes is definitely near the end. And so I'm calling that close and late. I'm saying the scoring margin is between you're either trailing by 8 or you're up by 8. So one score can make the difference. And I wanted to see who played the best in those situations. Well, honestly, you could say this was cherry picking. I had no idea what the answer was before I pulled it up. I would have expected this to be a place that Matt Stafford really shined. Sam Darnold was the number 1 rated passer in these close and late situations last year. He had a 136.5 rating last year in those situations. The next closest guy that actually was a starter was Geno Smith with 113.6, then Jaden Daniels, 113.5, Baker Mayfield, 108, Justin Herbert, 104, Lamar Jackson, 99, CJ Stroud, 96. So you kind of keep going down, and you got to keep going to find Matt Stafford is in this list, but he is lower in this list. So I was surprised by this. And one of the things that I wanted to see is where does Kyler Murray show up? Because honestly, my impression of Kyler Murray is that he is just not that good in these moments. And it's part of what keeps the Cardinals from being that interesting of a team because they're kind of tied at the hip to him. And so I don't know. I haven't looked all the way down this list. If I keep going and going and going to find Kyler Murray, holy crap. I did not know this. So Kyler Murray, 34.7 passer rating, close and late situations. He had, I got to look at, trace these columns here. So he had 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions when it was less than 5 minutes to go in either overtime or 4th quarter, and the game was within 1 score. That is atrocious. That is way worse than I could have even imagined. Kyler Murray was a number 1 overall pick. A lot of people have him as one of the best quarterbacks in the game. This is really damning as far as I'm concerned. So not great. Not great. And interesting to see Josh Allen all the way down here as well with a 39.6 rating. So Josh Allen, I mean, the other guys that are down here are, I mean, Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, Gardner Minshew, Mac Jones, Kirk Cousins. Oh my goodness. I did not see this yet. Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is a front-running quarterback. I think that's been generally, and Kyle Shanahan's a front-running OC and coach. When they're ahead and they get strike early, they are just a steamroller. Close and late, not so good. Brock Purdy has also thrown 0 touchdowns in that situation last year and 2 interceptions. He had a 49.6 rating. So this is a pretty big difference between these quarterbacks in this division in terms of how they play. And I'm going to give Kyler Murray and these guys a little bit of a shot because I know Sam Darnold, it was just for last year. So let's go back. Let's go combined seasons. We're going to go from 2022 to 2024, and we're going to do the same thing. I don't know what the results of this are. We're going to see it together. I want to see how much better, if at all, Kyler Murray and Brock Purdy get in these situations. I would bet it's rather stable. I don't know if they're going to be as bad as they were in 2025, but let's take a look to see where they rank for this. So, again, so Sam Darnold, interestingly, even over the course of 3 seasons, knowing he hasn't played that many snaps, still ranks toward the top with 108.8 rating. Then keep going down. Stafford, relatively high, not super high, but 88.1. Going to continue to look for Purdy, and there's Patrick Mahomes at 71.6. So not that great for Mahomes either. Going to continue to look. Kyler Murray, 57.1 passer rating. Over 3 seasons, he has 0 passing touchdowns in these moments and 4 picks. Folks, do not tell me this is a one-season aberration. This is who he is. Brock Purdy is even worse. So he drops below Kyler Murray when you look at 3 seasons. He has a 53 passer rating, 0 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Did you guys know that it was this bad? I did not know that it was this bad for Kyler Murray and Brock Purdy when it is close and late. That is that's pretty concerning if you're evaluating it. For me, that matters when you're evaluating a quarterback because that's one of the places where they make the biggest difference is winning at the end, winning when it counts. If we look at just last season, Pro Football Reference does fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives. Sam Darnold last year had 3 fourth quarter comebacks and 5 game-winning drives. Matt Stafford had 3 fourth quarter comebacks and 5 game-winning drives. So they had the same amount. Kyler Murray had 3 fourth quarter comebacks and 3 game-winning drives. So even though he did not perform well close and late, I think a lot of this is probably due to James Conner more than Kyler Murray. He does have 3 game-winning drives, so I think give him some credit for that. Brock Purdy had 1 fourth quarter comeback and 1 game-winning drive. Over his career, Brock Purdy has 2 fourth quarter comebacks and 2 game-winning drives. That's his entire career. So Sam Darnold and Matt Stafford and Kyler Murray all had more fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives in one season last year than Brock Purdy's had as an entire 3-year career. So Brock Purdy has not proven, and maybe proven the opposite. He's not proven he's the guy that you want when the game's on the line, although he did pretty well in the Super Bowl against Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs, led them to that touchdown before the Chiefs went down and won it. But the evidence is not good that Brock Purdy is a player that is going to rise to the occasion in close and late ball games. So that stood out to me a little bit. If we look at QBR, which is an ESPN stat, it's another one that, decide how you feel about it as a number. But we can look at that for these guys. It's more inclusive of what situations you're accomplishing things in, how difficult they were. Also, it does relatively includes running and not just passing. So this should help Kyler Murray, I would think, a little bit. So looking at QBR for last year, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen were tied for tops with a 77.3 QBR. That makes sense. Joe Burrow was third. Jaden Daniels was fourth. All that makes sense. Brock Purdy was seventh. He was the highest graded quarterback from QBR in the NFC West. Kyler Murray was second, 66.5. So they're pretty close in their rating. Matt Stafford was 12th, 64.7. So relatively close. And then Sam Darnold was next. He had a 60.4 QBR. So Sam Darnold was 4 out of 4 from a QBR perspective. If we look at passing touchdowns, how many touchdowns did you throw last year? Sam Darnold led this group with 35. I think some people be surprised to find out that Kyler Murray tied with Geno Smith last year for tops in the division with 21 touchdowns. So no one in the division threw many touchdowns last year. Sam Darnold lapped these guys in terms of his touchdown passes last year with 35. Kyler Murray had 21. Brock Purdy and Stafford had 20. As far as interceptions go, an interception rate, let's look at interception rate. If you look at that, Matt Stafford had the lowest interception rate of these players, 1.5%. It was almost a career low for him in terms of protecting the football. Kyler Murray was next with a 2% rate, which was 16th overall. Then Sam Darnold at 2.2%. Then Brock Purdy at 2.6%. So Brock Purdy had the highest interception rate of these guys. I didn't know that, actually. I would have guessed it was Sam Darnold, but Brock Purdy was the worst in terms of interception rate among them. And I mean, the fact that Sam Darnold had so many touchdowns, I'm sure he's number one in touchdown rate, which he was. And interestingly, Brock Purdy was second in touchdown rate. So touchdowns per attempt, he was better. Kyler Murray was third, and Matt Stafford was fourth. So let's look at some other advanced numbers relative to quarterbacks. Let's look at turnover-worthy play rate. How many times did the quarterback put the ball in harm's way? This could be passing, it could be fumbles, all sorts of things like that. Turnover-worthy play rate. Lamar Jackson was number one in the NFL with just a 1.4% turnover-worthy play rate. The best of the NFC West quarterbacks was Kyler Murray, 2.4% turnover-worthy play rate. This is by PFF. Next lowest in the division, Brock Purdy at 3%. After that, Sam Darnold and Matt Stafford are tied for fourth with a 3.6% turnover-worthy play rate. So Murray was at 2.4. Purdy was at 3, and Darnold and Stafford are at 3.6. So tell me so far, what's the thing where Stafford's above these guys? What's the thing that I can point to that says Stafford's better than these guys? Because so far, he's not better than Darnold close and late last year. He is not higher on QBR. We go back and look at QBR again. He's below both Purdy and Murray on QBR. He's last in touchdown passes. The best thing is that he has the lowest interception rate. That's the thing that I can point to most for him. He was the lowest rated quarterback by Field Vision Pro. What's the case for Matt Stafford here? Is it just reputation? Is it just the fact that he's Matt Stafford? Yes, he played well in the playoffs. Like, that's a thing. And Matt Stafford in the playoffs is excellent. In fact, let's look at that. Let's look at that because that should factor in, right? That should be something that we consider. So let me take a quick look. We're going to look now at performances in the playoffs. And we're going to look at, let's look over the course of a few seasons, okay? We'll look over the last 3 seasons. And we will look at a bunch of different numbers, but let's just look at the past 3 seasons. Let's do this again. 2022. And we're going to look for guys with at least 30 pass attempts in the playoffs. Okay. And let's see if I can get this. Yeah, just the playoffs. And let's see if we can get the results here. I'll show you guys what I find here in a second. So here's what we've got for the last 3 seasons. When you look at playoff performances, and if you go just by passer rating in the playoffs, Matt Stafford is 3rd highest passer rating in the playoffs. That's why he has this reputation of Mr. Playoffs, or September, whatever it is. He's January Stafford. He has 110.3 passer rating. He has thrown 6 touchdowns and no interceptions over the course. He's played 3 games, so it's not like he's played a ton, but he's played 3 games and he's done well during those over that stretch of time. We can go back one more year. The reason I picked 2022 is because that's when Brock Purdy started, and he's been in the playoffs. He's played 6 games. His passer rating is 96.2, which isn't bad. It's not great. It's not bad. You may be interested to see Geno Smith has a higher passer rating in the playoffs, just 1 game. That was against the 49ers. But you see Patrick Mahomes raises his game. Lamar Jackson is obviously very good. Jalen Hurts steps up. So some of these guys do step up. Sam Darnold has only played in 1 game, was not good, was very bad. Kyler Murray, not here. He hasn't played those games in the playoffs. I think we'd have to go further back in Kyler Murray's career to find a season where he made the playoffs. Maybe 2021. Did the Cardinals make the playoffs in 2021? They did. All right, let's go back one more year. We're going to drop this to 2021 so little Kyler Murray can get his entrance in to this group. All right, and so now this also includes the Rams Super Bowl season. So now the 7 games for Stafford, and he's thrown 15 touchdowns in those 7 games against 3 picks. That's outstanding. It's outstanding. And in fact, the only guys that have thrown more touchdowns than him in the playoffs since 2021 are Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And those guys have both played more games, at least 2 more in the case of Josh Allen and 6 more in the case of Patrick Mahomes. So, touchdown rate, Matt Stafford is pretty high up there as well. Not number 1, but pretty high. He does have 2 fourth quarter comebacks and 2 game-winning drives in these situations. Patrick Mahomes has the most with 5 and 6. Kyler Murray, dead last. You think Sam Darnold played a bad game in the playoffs last year. Kyler Murray had a 40.9 passer rating in 2021, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks. Was just a nothing burger. So here's kind of where I'm, let me look back at what you guys are saying and see if there's anything else. See if there's anything else that you guys have brought up that I have not. I see that there's a super chat, so let me check that out real quick. Oh, it's just, I think, a super thanks from Full Throttle Gadgets. Thank you, dude. Appreciate the super thanks or whatever this was. I'm struggling to figure out how, everyone, I think pretty much everyone else would have Brock Purdy. Sorry, they'd have Matt Stafford as top quarterback in the division. A lot of people just casually say that. I think Matt Stafford, let's just talk, forget the numbers for a second. Let's talk about, who these players are. Matt Stafford is the most proven quarterback. He's put up the biggest numbers. He's played the biggest in the biggest moments. All those things are true. He's also 37 years old. He, I think, really showed signs of slowing down last year. And I'm not convinced that you can just on reputation alone take a player with his numbers and put him at the top. Now, the counter argument here would be, well, Patrick Mahomes also didn't have great numbers last year, and I would take him still personally, I would take him first of the quarterbacks. I know a lot of people disagree and for whatever reason, but Patrick Mahomes is one of the only guys that can just lift his team single-handedly to win. Like, he's remarkable in that regard. Jaden Daniels would be up there for me right now in terms of his ability to threaten you with the ground game as well as the passing. So there's a lot of these good players, but I look at Stafford and I'm just a little bit flummoxed by the honestly just the kind of generous charitable evaluations I see out there based on the actual numbers. Now, people are going to say, well, he didn't have his top receivers for a lot of that time. He had a lot of injuries on the offensive line. Have you seen like what Geno Smith was putting up with it? I mean, I don't know, man. Like, and Brock Purdy didn't have Brandon Ayuk for most of the year, and Ricky Pearsall was shot and missed a lot of the year, and Deebo Samuel was not great. Like, I could make George Kittle miss some time. Trent Williams missed. Like, I don't know that Matt Stafford has cornered the market on had adversity that he faced. So, I'm confused. So there's a question here about a chat. I can put this up here. Oh, this was his super chat. I think is what he meant to write. Thank you. Okay, said, good morning. This is off topic. My wife and I are going to the mock game on the last day of training camp. If we see you there, it'd be cool to come say hi. Love what you're doing on your channel. Man, happy to do that. I'll be on the field in pregame for that. So you might see me there. That's probably the best chance. I'll probably be in the press box for the rest of it, but would be happy if folks want to come say hi. I'll absolutely be happy to do that. So appreciate it. Appreciate the super chat. And thank you for putting that. Maximus, thanks for letting me know to find that chat. I missed it the first time. So yeah, Stafford's one of the guys I'm really struggling with. Murray is just an interesting dude. Yes, he was coming off injury last year. That factors in. But this guy is an absolute dud when the game is on the line. He's a dud when the game's on the line. He's a dud in the playoffs. It's really hard for me to put him above anybody with that. Yes, he can put up numbers, but like, who cares if you've got talent if it doesn't matter in the moments that matter? Like, I just struggle with that with Kyler Murray. I think Brock Purdy has the best case to maybe be the number one quarterback in the division, given his age, given the production that we saw, given the Field Vision Pro rating, given some of these others. I mean, he was number one in QBR in the division. He was number one in Field Vision Pro's threat rating. He has been to the Super Bowl, not won it, but he's been there. So he has won playoff games. I think Brock Purdy's my number one, is where I get to. If I go back close and late, he was really that's the thing that for Brock Purdy holds me back a little bit. He's never had to be a guy that brings his team back. I mean, that's pretty damning that he's only had 2 fourth quarter comebacks and 2 game-winning drives in his career. That's really concerning. But I think I get to still, I think I get to Purdy overall as number one. I'm gonna give Stafford number two, and it's really like it's because if Sam Darnold had more track record and had, a playoff performance that was more reputable, I think I'd be able to make the case that he's number two. But I think I go Stafford number two just because he's a guy that can win when it's close and late, can lift you in those situations, has been a playoff hero, and still can make all the throws. Like, he still has that in him. This might be the last year I can justify that, and I'm struggling to do it. If I could make a bigger case for Murray or Darnold, I would, but I don't think I can for Darnold, and there's no way with the way Murray plays in those big moments that I can put him over Stafford. So I think I go Stafford 2. The last two, man. I mean, so Kyler Murray had a higher QBR last year. Stafford had a higher passer rating by quite a bit, 102 to 93. Had a lot more touchdowns. They threw almost the same amount of interceptions. And in fact, pretty much the same interception rate. Darnold was the higher rated Field Vision Pro by their threat rating passer. Darnold was better in the clutch, and was the best quarterback in football in the clutch last year. I think I'm going to go with Darnold. I know that that's going to absolutely make Cardinals fans laugh and get angry. So be it. Like, Kyler Murray, he can go out and prove me wrong by actually winning games when it matters and playing winning football when it matters, and not sulking when things don't go his way. I have real questions about Sam Darnold. I really do. And I want to see him play well. This is not based off of me thinking Sam Darnold is a world beater. This is largely based off the fact that I think Kyler Murray is a ceiling setter on a team, and with all his talent, I think he underperforms his talent. So I think that's where I end up with this ranking, and it's tough. I'm curious. I'm going to look right now at where PFF had their quarterback rankings of all 32 starters. They have Mahomes first, so they agree with me at least. Burrow second, Lamar Jackson third, Josh Allen fourth. Jalen Hurts fifth is ridiculous. I'm sorry. He's not. There's no way I would take Jalen Hurts over Jaden Daniels. They have Matt Stafford as seventh, the number one quarterback in the division. And here's what they say. Stafford isn't coming off his best season, but what keeps him in the upper tier is complete command of the offense. Despite playing behind a shaky offensive line and losing multiple top weapons to injury, he was still a drive away from knocking off the eventual Super Bowl champions in the divisional round. When Stafford is locked in, he is as good as anyone in football. So they have a similar reason for why they still have him highly ranked. I just don't think I could put that over Brock Purdy and what he actually produced and just ignore the production that's lacking with Stafford. Interestingly, they have Geno Smith as 10th, and they have Brock Purdy as 11th. So Purdy as the second highest ranked. They say Purdy may be a product of the system and surrounding talent, but he still led one of the NFL's most efficient offenses over the past 3 seasons. His place dipped slightly in 2024, yet he still posted the league's top success rate over the past 2 years, along with the 7th best PFF grade. So they have Purdy at 11, and that's second in the division. They have Kyler Murray at 15th. After multiple injury-plagued seasons, Murray finally stayed healthy in 2024 and delivered an 82.1 overall grade. If he can avoid the injury bug again, Murray is well positioned to take another step forward under Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing. And then, not that surprising, they have Sam Darnold way down the list, 26. So for them, it's not close. They have Murray as the third best and Darnold as a distant fourth. And what they have here for Sam Darnold at 26 is the big question for Darnold and the Seahawks is which version of the quarterback shows up. Will it be one we saw from 2018 to 2023 when his highest season grade was 66? He struggled with decision-making and consistency. Or will it be the quarterback who earned an 86 grade last year and helped the Vikings to 14 wins? His late season regression and playoff struggles were concerning, and he'll be working with a less talented supporting cast in Seattle. So they don't buy him. And I think that's fine. I get it. I understand it. I think it's a little bit crazy to me to have him below Cam Ward, Caleb Williams, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Bryce Young. I don't think that it's fair. I think even Tua Tagovailoa, I think Tua Tagovailoa is super overrated and, not anyway, we're not going to get into it, but I think that that's unfair. I think it's fine to say that you think that Sam Darnold is the fourth out of four. That's honestly what I came into this process expecting is to have this Sam Darnold as 4 out of 4 in the division. But the Murray stuff is really concerning to me under pressure. Let's look at what Mike Clay has for quarterback ratings. He has the Rams at a 6. And again, 10 is the highest for his. Rams at 6. He has got the Cardinals at 6. So he has them tied. He has the 49ers at 7 and the Seahawks at 4. So he has Brock Purdy and then basically a tie between Stafford and Murray and Darnold fourth. I mean, I don't think that's crazy. It doesn't change my mind ultimately. I just the things that I care about with a quarterback, I'm weighting a little heavier than the rest of the things here. And by pure numbers, Darnold was the better player last year. And situationally, Darnold was the better player last year. So that's kind of where I end up. I don't do this normally. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm curious. I want to look at red zone and third down for a second, just quickly, because I'm curious. So let's look at just last year. We're going to look at red zone situations, and we're going to look at, so starting field position is the opponent's 1 to 19 yard line. And let's take a quick look and see who did the best in the red zone last year. I haven't looked at this. I'm just curious. Third down and red zone are two other situational things that I'm curious about. I will share this so you guys can see what I'm looking at as I look at it. All right. So here is some of the data. We'll look at passer rating, and this is red zone first. And you want to ignore players that don't have many attempts. Amon-Ra St. Brown did that against the Seahawks, by the way. So red zone passers from the division, the first one, Brock Purdy at 104.9 rating in the red zone. Kyler Murray, 103.7. So Murray did well here. Sam Darnold did okay, 97.7. Where's Matt Stafford? Matt Stafford, 87.7. Down there with like Drew Lock. Okay. Let's look at third downs. Okay. Let's look at third down performance for a second and see how guys did in that situation. So Murray did pretty well in red zone. That's meaningful. And let's take a quick look here again. Sort by passer rating. All right. Brock Purdy, number 1 in red zone, number 1 in third down. So I'm comfortable with my Brock Purdy at number 1 grade. Nothing here that changes my mind there. Sam Darnold, number 2 with an 89 rating. Kyler Murray, 3 with an 85.7. Matt Stafford, 4th, 72.5. Ugh, man, it kind of bothers me. Like, I don't like being the guy when every number is indicating that Matt Stafford is 4 out of 4 and he's 37. I don't like having him at number 2, to be totally honest. I don't like it. But I also, if you told me that Matt Stafford could be the quarterback for the Seahawks or the Cardinals and would they take him, I think they would. So anyway, that bugs me, but it is what it is. All right, folks, if you haven't already given the show a like, click subscribe, please do. Make sure you head over to patreon.com/hawkblogger, sign up, get access to ad-free audio of this show, as well as the Discord channel, and verified over at hbtix.com, hbtix.com. Best place for Seahawks fans to sell tickets to other Seahawks fans. Make sure that we protect that home field advantage. There are 49ers tickets up there. Make sure you buy them up so we get as many Seahawks fans in the seat for the opener as possible. Appreciate all of you for tuning in on this early Wednesday morning. I will see you all again soon. Until then, have a great day. I'm Brian Nemhauser. This has been another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings.